A man uncertain about his future. Another considering getting a nautical-themed sleeve tattoo. A low-effort Halloween costume worn for the 7th year in a row. In a world so full of questions and confusion, where does one turn for answers? From Jules Ownby and Joshua Trivlidis, this is Letters to Jules and Josh. Welcome, folks, to the inaugural episode of Letters to Jules and Josh, the podcast where you get life advice from two totally unqualified best friends. I am Jules, and here with me is Josh. Josh, how you feeling today, man?
Man, I'm feeling good. Happy to be here.
Good, man. How are the stoke levels doing for the first ep?
Stoke levels are riding high right now.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I was just listening to some Charlie Puth. I don't know if you're a Puth head, bro, but that Puth slaps, as I often tell my brother.
Can't say that I'm a big Puther, but maybe I'll give him a try soon.
We'll see what happens as the episodes go on. Maybe I can convert you into a Puthman. All right, so this is the first step of the podcast. So I think it's fair that I give a little introduction to what the concept is, what we are doing here. So basically, Josh and I are the advice givers, and you all, our beloved audience, are the advice seekers. So letters to Jules and Josh at gmail.com, at Instagram. Write us a letter. Tell us about your problems, your dilemmas, your life situations. What we're going to do is we're going to read it on air, and we're going to change your life. We're really going to get deep into it, and we're going to dig into the things you need solved. How does that sound, Josh?
And that's a promise that we make from us to you.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. We've got our first email here from Lindsay. And Lindsay, thank you for writing to us. So Lindsay says, "Hey guys, I am writing in because I have an issue that I've discussed with all of my female friends already, and they pretty much all agree with me. My brother, however, disagrees. And since I don't really have many good male friends, I'm turning to you for perspective." Great idea. So about a year ago, I started seeing this guy. We'll call him Jason. We met at a mutual friend's party and chatted, and I gave him my number. So we started seeing each other, and things were going really well. We followed the regular timeline of seeing each other a couple times on official dates, then gradually shifting to more of a casual, relationship-y type hang. The guy was really nice and cute, and I felt really comfortable around him. That is always good. He didn't do anything ever personality-wise to change that, but I ended up having to end things with him for a very silly reason. Okay, it's heating up, Lindsay.
Interesting.
On about our 9th or 10th time hanging out, Jason shows up to our dinner date in a trench coat. And I'm not talking a stylish, expensive, shorter cut trench coat here. This guy showed up in a massive, old, oversized brown trench coat like what a flasher would wear on the subway. So I really didn't say anything bad the first time. I just asked him about his new coat, and he said that he had found it recently at a thrift store.
Jules, do you mind if I interrupt you just right here 1 second?
Go, please, please.
You're just saying this, and I'm wondering to myself, you said the 9th or 10th time after hanging out. Do you think our boy Jason here knows that maybe this is a questionable piece of clothing? Is that why he waited?
Ooh, I don't think so, because it says he had recently found it at a thrift store. So I'm thinking
okay.
he was just out shopping, maybe hanging with friends, and he saw the coat, and he was like, ooh, I got to get that.
Okay, fair enough. I'll let you continue.
Thank you. I digress. Anyway, the next time Jason and I saw each other, he was wearing the trench coat again. And the time after that. So that's when I finally said something. I told him that I did not like the coat and thought it was quite silly and even a little creepy. He then got offended and said it was his favorite coat and he was going to keep wearing it and he didn't care what I thought. So long story short, I ended up breaking things off with him because he refused to stop wearing the trench coat and I felt uncomfortable being seen with him in public with his trench coat on. My girlfriends all agree with me, but my brother says I was being way too superficial. So, where do you guys stand on the matter? Great email.
I'll say.
Great email, great question.
Do we have a
Joshua,
name?
Lindsay. Lindsay is the
Lindsay.
writer, and Jason is the culprit. So let's turn it over to you. What are your initial thoughts here?
Yeah, so upon hearing about this story, I must say that I can't help but think of a trench coat as a very questionable clothing choice. I think we probably agree on that.
Absolutely.
It's a very bold jacket to wear. I have never even considered wearing one. I don't really know many people who would wear one. And far be it from me to be the fashion police. I mean, I'm just a pretty regular, plain guy. So, in terms of bold
I don't know.
clothing
Your
choices,
fits are pretty nice. Your work fits, these Snapchats are pretty good.
I do appreciate that. But usually I'm just picturing my socks and pants. I don't really have much going on in terms of interesting top pieces. And the trench coat, perhaps, is the most bold top piece of clothing one could wear. I mean,
Certainly an interesting top piece.
and unfortunately, like you said or not like you said, but like Lindsay said, it's associated with some questionable personality traits like a flasher or something kind of weird like that,
Yeah,
you know?
certainly a questionable personality trait. Flashing is on the high end of. Are you sure you want to be doing that? Hey,
Exactly.
bud,
Exactly.
it's a little questionable.
Exactly. Now, let's not go crazy here. I'm not saying that Jason's a total weirdo at the same time.
Yeah.
I certainly don't want to judge him for just wanting to wear a trench coat. But I will say this. It's definitely a bit creepy, right?
Yes, I agree with you.
And because he decided to keep on wearing it after she asked him, and or at least after she brought it up with him, that it made her feel uncomfortable, or it was just something that she didn't want to be seen with him doing out in public.
Certainly.
In the early stages of a relationship, I feel like you do have to decide whether you want to make this an issue or if you want to concede it for now and maybe bring it up later when things are on a roll and you know each other a little bit
Yeah,
better.
like,
So,
babe, now that we're married, can I wear my trench coat?
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We all have these little things and we have to kind of wait for the other person to be a little more comfortable and then we can show the trench coat side of ourselves.
That's a good point. I will say this. How do you feel? I think that there is a type of person who can read this email and say, hey, Jason dodged a bullet here. Because she says he was cute, he was nice, he was cool, she's very comfortable around him, and she's breaking up with him for a coat. So did Jason dodge a bullet? Because what happens in 6 months from now when they hypothetically move in together and they're trying to pick a color for the wall, or when they get married and they want to name their kid, did Jason perhaps avoid opening a Pandora's box of disagreements?
No, for sure. That's a really good point to bring up
I was gonna
because
say all those things and then say I still think Lindsay is right because it's not acceptable. The trench coat is simply not acceptable.
yeah, the trench coat is especially this early. I can't stress that enough. When you're trying to make a good impression and someone has brought it up already, it definitely seems like our friend Jason here might be on the stubborn side. But you do bring up some good points.
Not even just on the stubborn side. My
Right.
fear here is that is this trench coat revealing a different side of him? Is this perhaps a gateway drug to what is coming next?
Right.
Are we going to be growing like a little bit of a like weird mustache? Is a top
Mm,
hat coming next? Is he going to get one of those like stylish walking stick thingies, you know?
right. And you know what? Someone who wears a trench coat definitely has a walking stick or a mustache or even a weird satchel in the near future.
Ooh, a
You know what I mean?
satchel. That's true. Man, would you wear a satchel on a date ever, or just in general, but more specifically on a? No, hold on. Let's not get sidetracked here. Let's not get sidetracked. Let's stay on point.
We should, but satchel, trench coat, these are the kind of things that certainly create a bit of an issue, especially early on in a
Let me
relationship.
ask you this. I
Go
100%
ahead.
agree with you there. Is there any item of clothing that a girl could wear all of a sudden on like the 10th date that would make you be like, oh no, like all of a sudden this is who you are now? Because trench coat guy, like that's your whole personality, right?
Right.
Does there exist an item that a woman could wear that would make you think, ugh? Because I have an answer ready for you.
Let me let you go ahead and take this one because I don't know. I
Dude,
haven't
it's
really thought of that before.
French beret. It's not creepy, but it's like, wait a minute, this is what we're doing now?
Right.
Like you just a French beret, like maybe like once in a while, it's like, she's feeling good, she's feeling hype, she's gonna take some Instagram pics. But you're wearing a beret every day now. You're now beret girl, and I'm like the guy that hangs out with beret girl.
Well, to be fair, beret, you kind of have to go out of your way to do the whole beret thing. It's not something you wear or it's not something you do every day. But
Well, no, but
trench coat.
in this situation, in my hypothetical beret situation,
Oh,
it
okay.
is like the trench coat. It is a constant thing.
Okay.
So I think that would be a deal breaker for me.
I see. That's interesting. I haven't really thought of a piece of clothing that would turn me off and would be a deal breaker, but I guess I don't know. I guess something like overalls every day would be
I think overalls every once in a while is like, oh, that's like cute. You're changing it up. It's nice.
agreed, but every day, I don't know. This there I don't really have a good answer. I do think the
That's okay.
trench coat on both a man or a woman is just one of those weird coats that you can't help but think what was behind this
What's
choice of
coming
clothing.
next, man? If I'm on the
Exactly.
metro and a guy has a trench coat, what's what's about to happen?
Yeah, let's not go there, but
All right.
exactly. That's what it conjures up. And look, if Jason's been a trench coat guy for a long time, that's cool. Maybe that's his thing, and maybe he pulls it off. We really don't know this guy. Lindsay, you
I
want to
heard he's
send us
cute
some?
though.
Yeah, you want to send us some pics of this guy? Maybe he's
No,
rocking it.
don't.
We don't know. Maybe we could take some advice from him. But look, here's what I'll say. Some of us have these bad choices that we make. Let me just come out and say right now that I, for much too long in my life, wore a Live Strong bracelet.
You
I've
didn't
heard
you
it.
stop wearing that like 6 months ago?
That's probably right. There's probably a picture of me this summer with a Live Strong on. And everyone listening to this would know that Live Strong has been out of fashion, out of style for the better part of what, 6, 7 years now?
Dude, 12? What changed your mind? What finally changed your mind? What finally made you take off the Livestrong bracelet?
I think I just realized that it really, really, really wasn't cool anymore. I thought
Man,
I
that's a
could
serious
keep it
revelation
alive.
that you came to, eh?
Yeah, no, for sure. And I thought I could keep it alive. I thought I could rock it, but eventually that yellow piece of rubber just isn't cool anymore. But at the same time, it's not as in your face as a trench coat, right?
I have
So,
an even better example. There was one time that I was with a girl who would later become my girlfriend at Urban Outfitters. I must have been like 18. And I saw these pants, dude, and they're like orange pants. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, hey, those are kind of cool. Should I try those on? And she immediately said, no, Jules, they're orange pants.
right.
And
Good point.
imagine all the things I could have missed out on in my life had I gotten those orange pants.
Right.
We might not even have this podcast. And that brings me to my final thoughts for Jason, is that I would encourage Jason to reach out to people in his life and look for a fashion consultant. Like if he's going to go shopping, if he's thrifting one day, go with your sister, go with like a female cousin, a friend, maybe like a guy that dresses nice. Or even if you're going to go alone, just like text somebody and say, hey, I'm going to hit some stores later today. Please be on standby so I can text you pics. Because I got to tell you, shout out to Lauren and Rebecca, my fashion gals. They've got my drip on point, my friend. And there are no orange pants. There's no trench coats. You need people to tell you when you're going too far.
You need a close circle of friends that you can quickly send ideas for fits when you're in the store, you're in the changing room. You need someone close to you to have that perspective. And my guess is anytime I would send my friend group a picture of it in a trench coat, someone would lay the hammer down.
Someone would hit you with that delete.
Exactly. And so I couldn't agree more. Reach out to your close friends, Jason. Figure it out next time.
It's okay to ask for help.
Exactly.
All right, let's move on to our second email. We don't have a name on this one. That's okay.
Okay.
Hey, Jules and Josh. I'm 36 years old, been divorced about 6 months. Relationship was already falling apart before the pandemic. Let's not even bother getting into it, okay? Anyways, over the course of the pandemic, I've really been focusing on myself and my future. I started exercising more, have been doing some journaling, and finally decided to take the plunge on buying and converting a Sprinter van so that I can travel freely and on my own terms. Very cool.
That is very cool.
I currently am not dating due to obvious reasons, COVID. Also, I want to focus on myself before I get back out into the dating world after all this is over. This guy's got some great ideas. So this leads to my question. When the pandemic ends, I want to travel to some awesome places in the US and have some amazing experiences while also taking some new pics of myself for my dating app profiles. I find that my normal pictures are quite boring and unappealing. So what do you guys think would be the best sites to visit to get some good shots of me for my dating profiles? Whew. That's
interesting.
That is a banger of a question. I wish we had your name, sir. I love the fact that you're getting ready for a relaunch post-COVID. I think many of us can benefit from that. I will say the first thing that comes to mind when I read this email was that I just wish we had more information. This time I actually wish that they had sent us like some selfies or like mirror pics because he says he's been exercising. What does that mean? This could change our entire trip destination, right? Because if he's been like getting jacked, he's got some abs showing off, we're heading straight to the beach or to other destinations where our man could be taking his shirt off as much as possible, right? However, if he's more of like a bigger guy, maybe he's got a beard, he looks really good in plaid, he's kind of like a lumberjack vibe, my man needs to get the Sprinter van and start heading to like Montana now. Taking some pics, chopping some wood, some winter snow pics would be a really good idea. Maybe like a dog sledding photo shoot would also be. So I just saying, I don't want to encourage everyone to send us selfies all the time, but in this case, it would have been really good to know because it's good to know what's your look, what's your environment, and how will your look and your environment combine to provide the viewers with the best photos of you, no?
Right. And as a man who is certainly not shy taking off his shirt at a beach or a hot destination, you have any tips for this guy if he decides to go down that road?
Man, you're really putting me on the spot with this one, eh? Just be confident, man. Just be confident. Just be powerful. I don't know. You can't put me on the spot with how do you shine the light perfectly on your shirtless body? I don't know.
No, but you bring up a good point. We do need to, or we don't need to, but it would be kind of cool to see what this guy's rocking before we give him advice for his dating profile makeover, you know? But I will admit to you this, Jules. I slightly misread this letter when you had sent it in the pre-show email. And I have some notes on it, but for some reason I was slightly hung up on one issue, which really made my destinations for our friend here very particular.
Okay.
So,
okay, please tell me more.
Well, not so much very particular, but I really, for some reason, thought our friend was converting the Sprinter van.
Okay.
And taking himself to national park locations across the United States.
Hold on, but that's all of my destinations are nature destinations.
Well, that's what I was going to say. Now that I realize that I slightly misread this, it doesn't really matter because I think if you were trying to rebrand yourself on social media, dating app, you probably want to hit some cool locations, and national parks really offer some very interesting and unique picture locations.
I could not agree
see
more.
You smiling. So
I could not agree more. I have I want to hear your locations first because perhaps many of ours, I don't have that many locations, but perhaps they coincide. However, before we begin listing locations for you, my
Yeah.
friend,
Mm-hmm.
it says here in my notes in all bold, no fishing pics, okay? It's cool to go fishing, it's cool to be on the lake, but do not snap a pic, throw the fish back in the lake. The girls, the women, do not want to see you and your fish, okay? And with
There you
that,
have it.
Josh,
There you have it, boys.
please give me your first location.
I mean, this is one of the more obvious ones in the national park list, but you got to start with Yosemite because I mean, not only has Yogi Bear made that park famous, but
Great point.
well, actually, is it Yellowstone or is
I
it
have
Yosemite?
Yellowstone on my list, but I don't know the exact Yogi
It's
Bear
yeah, Yogi
reference
Bear is
here.
definitely the bear for one of those two. We're getting research on this,
Yeah,
but
I'm
one of the
checking this
two
up as we
national
speak.
parks. But anyway, here's what I'll say. This guy actually has a really good idea. It's something that I recently thought of just not so long ago. I think this summer, I was mentioning it to my girlfriend. Rent a car, drive through the national parks.
It's
Obviously,
Jellystone Park.
oh,
Sorry, go on.
I guess they switched up the name on
I
us.
think I think I'm actually super wrong about that. Sorry to cut you off. Please continue.
Where was I?
Rent a
Yeah, so
car, drive through the national parks.
I've had this idea before. It's something that I'd be interested in doing. I was actually met with a hard no on that one. So I guess I'm gonna have to
Really?
save that trip for a boys trip. But
Hold on.
anyway,
What? What did you suggest exactly?
renting a car and driving to the national parks.
And she just said no?
Well, to be fair, it was during a discussion of what should our next trip be. And so I think there's some other trips that are coming ahead of that one, even though I think it'd be a really awesome thing to do.
What did she have above that?
The usual suspects, Bali, Europe.
Hasn't she already been to Bali?
She has,
But she hasn't been with you.
exactly.
All right. All right, go
Anyway,
on.
um,
Dude, maybe you can go with the guy. Email us back again if you want
Yeah.
Josh to go on this trip with you.
please do.
Personal photographer.
That's a good point. We haven't touched on this, but I hope our man is equipped with a good tripod and Bluetooth system. You can find these all over Amazon.
Really, really, you're really bringing the heat. Go on.
Okay, now let me keep this a little shorter here. A lot of the national parks I have are on the West Coast. My idea is you kind of start from Banff, you make your way down Yosemite, Yellowstone, Grand Canyon.
Oof. I've got Yellowstone. I've got Grand Canyon. I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more.
That West Coast trip is,
My man, Pacific Coast Highway. We did that trip together.
and that's exactly where I
A
was
lot
trying
of
to go with
great
this.
picks were taken. A lot of great picks were taken.
Some of our best pictures were
Mhm.
taken there.
Absolutely. Utah has some great spots.
It really does.
I haven't been there. Zion National Park, though, looks beautiful. Bryce Canyon National Park looks tremendous. As Josh already mentioned, the Grand Canyon, everybody wants to go there. What an easy conversation starter. A picture of you, shirtless, shredded, in front of the Grand Canyon. And she says, hey, is that the Grand Canyon? And you say, yes, have you been? You guys are already hitting it off.
Right. Or sitting there journaling
Ooh.
against a geyser in Yosemite National Park.
Man, these are just great suggestions.
Phenomenal conversation starters.
Phenomenal.
That can't be understated because you just come off very interesting. You've chosen a great location to take yourself for a picture. And so
It shows that you're a complete guy. You like nature, you like fitness, you like journaling, you've been to the Grand Canyon. What more can you say?
right. And you brought up our trip into California that we did driving along the coast. And I think if you're really dedicated to taking this trip and going through all these national parks, while these locations are going to be the signature stops along the way, it's all about the journey, man. There's a lot to
Exactly.
discover.
Imagine just how much you could journal on this trip, how much reflection you could do.
All the captions and clever one-liners you could come up with.
It's really good stuff.
You could, in fact, practice it along the way at the different stops, like restaurants, bars that you'll probably frequent.
What exactly do you mean by what are we practicing at the restaurants and bars?
Just conversing and
Oh, sorry. Practicing talking to people.
well, our guy's clearly on the dating app, so maybe he'll get a chance to practice live in person with some people at a bar or at a park. Or actually, don't do it at the park. That's a bit
The national park, not the park.
right.
Yeah, man, I think we are totally in an excellent amount of agreement. And I think if we're going to sum up our thoughts on this question, it's get out west, don't take any pictures of yourself fishing, and know your look.
Know your look.
Know your look.
Know your strengths. Know what time of day the sun hits you best. I'm just kidding. Just have fun out there.
No, but
man.
I mean,
you have a really good idea. You really do.
Yeah, we can move on. The sun point is a good point, but let us certainly move on. We've done enough on this. Thank you for your email. All right, folks. Now it's time for the second segment of the show, the question of the week. We spent the first half of the show answering your questions. Now it's time to answer ours. So, Josh, for this week's question of the week, I bring you the burning question. What is the most attractive instrument for a person to play? You are not allowed to answer guitar.
Wow.
Wow, indeed. Wow.
How do you want to do this? Is this a ranking of sorts? Is this
Well, I have one definitive answer.
Okay.
But I also have sleeper picks.
Okay.
Do you have a ranking, like 3, 2, 1 type thing?
That's exactly what I came in with.
Okay, so why don't you give me your number 3, and I'll give you a sleeper pick afterward, and then we'll settle in at number 1.
Okay, perfect. In at number 3 for me, this one would seem like the number 1. I think to a lot of people, when someone asks you this question, especially not being able to say guitar, I think you want to say this one because you've seen it in YouTube videos, you've heard it in songs.
What are you going to say?
It's got that smooth feel to it. It's a saxophone.
Ah.
And I think you know what I mean when I say it's kind of that obvious pick.
Boy, do I know.
Little secret here. Jules is a saxophone former player.
Oh, you'll hear more about it later on.
Oh, okay.
A very sexy instrument. I cut you off. Tell us more about the saxophone.
Well, I'll admit it has a very unique sound. It's one of those very sexy instruments by all standards of the internet.
Yeah, baby.
Okay. But it's not as high for me because I feel like it's been a little overdone right now. And my 2 picks ahead of it, when I really put my thinking cap on for this question, I had to bump saxophone to number 3.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That is, as you'll hear later on, that is quite surprising to me. I've got here, I don't have rankings. I just have sleeper picks. The drums comes in here in my list.
Yeah.
Because if you can play the drums, that means you've got rhythm. And if you got rhythm, you can probably dance. And if you can dance, it makes you certainly at least a little bit more attractive.
True.
So yeah, that's all I've got for you on the drums. Do you agree or do you disagree?
Well, I feel like you went a lot into the type of person that's playing the drums with the whole rhythm aspect, but I'm just wondering, what about the drums is attractive? I think it's probably
I just
quite
love
annoying.
A good set.
Do you really?
I just love a good drum set, man. Comes with the sticks, the bass drum thingy you hit with the. Now I'm stomping on the floor.
Right.
But it's
a loud instrument, right?
It's primarily a rhythm answer. Primarily, I believe that it leads to you having rhythm and being good at least decent at dancing, which is why I am partial to the drums.
So you're saying that a lot of drummers are very good dancers.
Certainly.
Which,
I don't know if you watched The Masked Dancer.
I specifically haven't tuned in because how much you complain about it.
I just can't believe that's a show. We can get to that on another episode. But probably the best contestants are probably all celebrity drummers.
Okay, see, I didn't know that. In my mind, when I'm thinking of a drummer, I'm thinking of someone in a rock band, and that doesn't necessarily jump out as the guy who's going to be the best dancer.
Dave
But
Grohl? I don't know if he plays drums. Ringo? I wonder if he plays the drums. I should have looked up a list of the sexiest drummers, but let's get to your
yeah,
next pick, Josh.
in at number 2, this one I also went for a little bit of background
Okay.
with whoever's playing this instrument. I went with the double bass.
Slapping it, eh? Just like Charlie Puth. Just that shit just slaps, eh?
Exactly. And the reason is this instrument is probably being played 9 times out of 10 by a very cool music person, right? Someone who's playing shows, someone who's playing at trendy clubs that you go after hours. You know what I mean?
After hours bass guy.
After hours bass guy.
Always the coolest guy in the room.
Up there on stage, not too many people, right? It's a pretty low key show.
He's probably playing and he's leaning backwards, you know?
Exactly.
He's got a stance.
He's kind of on it, might be on his pedestal, but he's kind of leaning off of it a bit, in total control of this commanding instrument. It's pretty cool.
He also has rhythm, and he's much like a dancer. He is leading the charge of the song, like
Absolutely.
a very beautiful tango lead dancer. I'm doing things with my hands that people cannot see right now.
Absolutely. I didn't realize Jules was obsessed with connecting instruments to dancing so much, but listen,
I love dancing, man.
He is a dancing guy. He's got some good moves, and if he says that a double bass player would have good moves, then I'll take his word for it. So, comes in at number 2 for me.
Beauty. I've got on my list here is the piano. I feel like it's pretty obvious now, but however, more specifically, the jazz piano. No link to dancing here, unfortunately. I just feel like jazz piano is like a pretty sexy instrument. You know, I can picture John Legend playing it to you at like a dinner party. He's singing you a song.
I couldn't agree more. A little bit of a spoiler alert for me, but I absolutely agree. A piano is an excellent choice for a sexually attractive instrument.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can get more in depth on that when you go. What's your next one? Oh, that's your number 1, eh?
That's
okay. Before you give your number 1,
okay.
Let me give you a serious sleeper pick here.
Okay, go for it.
The harp.
Wow.
Yeah. Let me just set the scene for you.
Okay.
You've had a long day at work. You are heading home. The key is in the door. You open the door. You walk up the stairs. You're describing things too much. And there's beautiful plucking music in your home as you walk in the house. There's fresh bagels and cream cheese everywhere. Your wife is playing harp to you. That's pretty sexy, no?
The way you describe that is like the plot of a Geico commercial.
No, it is actually a Philadelphia cream cheese commercial, my friend.
Is it really?
Yeah, you walk in your home. Am I in heaven?
Right. It's a commercial.
It's a Philadelphia cream cheese commercial.
Okay. So I was pretty close there with commercial.
Well, yeah, kind of.
And
Geico is the gecko, but it's okay.
Right, but he could be playing it. He's usually up to some weird
I'm
stuff.
picturing like a beautiful woman draped in like white satin gowns playing the harp to me as I eat a fresh bagel. My house is made of clouds.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice.
Fun fact, Andy Samberg's wife is a famous harp player.
That is very interesting. I did not know that.
If I come with the facts, my friends.
Yeah, harp is just a really excessive instrument. I don't know where I'd class that. It would definitely be something I'd be interested in seeing one time live, but
dude, we should go together.
Yeah, we definitely could.
After COVID. I wish I had that guy's name, but email us also if you want to come to a harp concert with us.
Yeah.
Anyone can hit us up. lettersjosh@gmail.com and Instagram. Hit us up about harps. All right, let's get to our final one. I imagine yours, of course, is the piano.
That is correct.
Tell me about how attractive the piano is to you.
Well, I think you said it best when you brought up a dinner party. I don't think there's a better instrument out there that if you're playing it at a very classy function, you definitely take over a room in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
You definitely have people's attention. And
Not even
woman
just a
or
dinner
man,
party. If you're at a bookstore downtown.
bookstore, if you're at an airport and there's a random piano like they sometimes have in some of these public locations, people will stop
The street.
the street. You
Yes.
name it.
That is
People
one
will
of the
stop.
most public of locations.
Absolutely. People will gather. They will be intrigued. And I can't help but think that if you're in a situation where you're one on one with someone else,
Ooh.
with your significant other,
Ooh.
early on in the relationship,
Pre-trench coat times.
pre-trench coat times, a piano will do you nothing but give you bonus points. Am I right or am I right?
Oh yeah, dude. It's you're out. I mean, if you're like me and you don't know how to play piano, you're definitely gonna be losing some points. But if you can play some sultry, smooth jazz to your lover, that would
You've got it
certainly
made.
Yeah, that would certainly get me interested in the situation.
Yeah, and in my notes, you referred to it earlier actually with the drums. You referred to people being talented in other areas, and in my notes here I have a one very talented individual, Jamie Foxx, comedian, actor, singer, and you know what he plays when he sings? He plays the piano
Wow.
because he knows how to be the center of a room. He knows how to capture your attention. And if Jamie Foxx is playing an instrument, I want to be playing that instrument too. I want to be good at that instrument because I know Jamie Foxx is the man. So
Wow.
I had to get that in there.
You make some very compelling points.
That's why piano comes in at number one for me. It's just that classy instrument that I think you can really impress people anytime.
I agree with you, but I have to go with the old classic saxophone, my friend.
Predictable.
Predictable indeed, because I was a dedicated sax man for about 10 years of my life. And I haven't played it since I was 17, and I'm much less attractive now than I was back then. So I should pick
Do
back
not sell yourself short.
I should pick the sax back up. It's a sultry, smooth, sexy instrument. You can look up Duke Silver. You can look up the sexy sax man. Look up Jules Zone B, 2012, high school graduation. The most attractive people all play saxophone, and I will die on that hill, my friend.
Not a bad hill to die on for sure. That's listen, you bring up a good point. Like I said, it's definitely in my top 3. It's up there. It is a very sexy instrument.
Mm-hmm.
You did look great playing it. Did anyone else play it in our grade at our school?
I think there was like 6 people in the thing.
Were you the best of all 6 or?
No, I was in advanced band, but I was like barely holding on because I never practiced ever.
Yes.
Shout out Genevieve Melanson, though. One of my oldest friends and saxophone friend as well. Please listen to this podcast. All right. Do you have any final thoughts on anything that we've gone over on this pod?
Not really. Listen, it was a pleasure. I had a lot of fun. I hope
did I.
the audience learned a little, laughed a little.
Laughed a lot.
Whatever your feelings were, we're happy to have you here.
Indeed, your feelings are valid, and we're running out of steam here. So, thank you everybody for listening to the inaugural episode of Letters to Jules and Josh. That's Letters to Jules and Josh at gmail.com, at instagram.com, and at facebook.com. So hit us up, guys. Next week, we've got a big Valentine's episode coming up.
Ooh.
If you thought this instrument conversation was sexy, you guys have no idea what's coming. So hit us up. Let's get those Valentine's questions dealt with. And don't forget to subscribe to the pod. If you liked it, leave us a review. We love you very much. And everybody have a beautiful day.
Have a good good week, everyone.
Peace.